No, man. Welcome to Real Life Reviews with Kevin and E again. What's going on, everybody?
What's going on, people? What's going on?
Yo, man, E, man, we back at it again, bro. I'm super excited. Yo,
Yeah,
what we reviewing today?
today we are reviewing American fiction. Um, Let me jump into the summary real quick.
Absolutely, man. Give me the summary, bro.
All right, so basically, the story is about a writer who's down and out. His name is Thelonious Ellison, but his friends, his family, they call him Monk. Basically, he's kind of like down, in his career. Hasn't had like a hit book in a while.
Okay.
So he's meeting with his editor or his publisher, and he's trying to get him like some pointers and tidbits about how he can kind of like relaunch his career or make himself more noticeable. And then that basically turns into him writing a book which he completely is not in agreement with, and a studio actually gets a hold of the book and they want to buy the rights for it. But it goes against like his ethics, a lot of his beliefs and philosophies. On top of that, he also has some family drama that's going on, so he has to return back home to Boston and deal with that. So yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of layers to the movie, but yeah,
Right. Yeah, man. Definitely a lot of layers to this film. I honestly think this movie came off very human, right? I've never seen, but I haven't seen a movie like this in a while where it felt so human.
yeah,
Like, it didn't feel super Hollywood. It felt like the Thelonious Monk was a real person, and
yeah,
that somewhere out there, there's this writer who's having this same existential crisis or
mhm,
situation in his life where he's basically making a book for satire. He's
yeah,
like trying to rub it in the noses of, let's be real, white America or non-black America. He's
right,
rubbing a book in their faces and giving them everything they say they want to see in a movie and rubbing it in their noses, and he's expecting it to fail.
yeah,
And it becomes a bestseller. He gets nominated for an award. It's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah,
Great movie in my mind. But
yeah,
yo, man. Speaking of cast, man, the movie, right?
yeah.
I got a question for you, bro.
Okay,
Um, Tracy Ellis Ross is in this movie, and
I know
love
where you're
her.
going.
Great actor. I mean, great actress. Uh, Super solid performance from her. But I gotta say, man, I felt like she got kind of Chris Brown.
Dude,
Like you know what I mean, bro? Like
dude.
Stomp the
When
yard, like kind of like Stomp the Yard, man. You know, like Chris Brown, like Stomp the Yard. Like
yeah,
I was like, dang, bro. Like they was like Tracy Ellis Ross,
so
American Fiction, and I was
let me
like,
let me give a little background. So the film starts. He gets into a little bit of trouble at whatever university he's working at. Fast forward, he gets put on like you know leave of absence, returns home, meets his sister, Tracy Ellis Ross. They're kind of talking, about everything that's going on within the family. Their mom is sick, she needs help. But then we find out that she's sick also, and she passes unfortunately, and it's like within the first 15-20 minutes.
I'm not sure if it's like she's sick. Also, it's more or less she had a heart attack, and then like
Yeah,
they're eating brunch or lunch, and they're talking about like their life and
yeah,
relationship and trying to basically mend their relationship. He's like, "You never told me this before. You were
yeah.
never here." And then immediately, sis has a heart attack, and she's dead. So like,
Mhm.
like, bro,
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh. And me and my wife was watching the movie together, and we are watching it, and we are like, yo, I kind of feel like Tracy Ellis Ross got Chris Brown, man, like in Stop the Yard. Like, she got killed in the first act, and I was expecting more of a more from her, right, in the movie. I'm not saying what she did wasn't enough. It's
Yeah,
phenomenal. And also, the trailer didn't reveal that she was going to die. The trailer kind of you didn't know who she was to him. You didn't know whether she was his love interest. We didn't know if she was his sister,
yeah,
and it was just a different take on the movie.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, man, that's kind of how I felt.
yeah. I looked at my wife. as soon as that scene where she was in the hospital and she stopped kicking, and I was like, yo, like like that was quick, like. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, just to the story. Again, he returns back home. Family's kind of broken up. His brother, who was played by another phenomenal actor, Sterling K. Brown, he lives out of town. I think in Tucson, Arizona. Um,
no, no, he lives. I think he said he not Arizona. I think he lives in he
was it
lives in
LA?
Arizona. Arizona, yeah, Arizona.
Okay.
Tucson.
Um, so somewhere on the West Coast.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, he comes back home. Family again. They're coming back together to take care of mom, who I believe was dealing with like early onset
Alzheimer's. They said
dementia.
Alzheimer's. They diagnosed her early onset Alzheimer's because he came home for his sister's funeral.
Yeah, for a
Um,
funeral.
and the difference is like Monk and his brother weren't as super close as the sister and the brother was,
Yeah,
and you can just kind of feel the kind of like disconnect of the older brother from his siblings, and he's just trying to navigate this through this. And he
yeah,
also gets a love interest, which was kind of cool.
yeah. Let's run through the cast real quick. So we got Jeffrey Wright, of course, who is one of my top tens. Just want to put that out there.
And he's also one of my favorite Jim Gordons.
Yeah.
Shout out to Batman.
We also have Sterling K. Brown, Erica Alexander, and Tracy Ellis Ross, who
Mm-hmm.
again you know got let go too quick.
Chris
Um,
Brown.
yeah, Chris Brown. Um, and then we have Leslie Uggams. We have John Ortiz. So pretty solid cast. Um, but yeah, man. Um, how did you feel about the movie? How did you relate to it?
Man, I gotta say, man, it was a very real um viewpoint from an African American man in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Like the first scene when he's a professor, and he's teaching the class, and literally the word is NIGTR, right? It's up
Yeah.
there, and the N word, and she's like, that word offends me, and he's like, yeah, but you got to realize this is American literature. This is before, knowledge of certain things, X, Y, and Z. And she's like, well, this word really offends me. He said, well, it offended me too, but I got over it. To read the book, you got to understand it's a period piece.
Yeah.
And the student walks out of class. Like, I was like, wow, that's real. Like, who is she to
Yeah.
tell a black man that the N word offends her when he's black in America, right? So these are things like, that, with the, people call it the woke agenda, they call these different things, right?
Mhm.
Liberal movement, however we want to call it. So many things happen to where like you're as a black person being challenged as if you're black enough. Am I black enough? Right? Like, and it was like almost as if he was being challenged if he
Yeah.
was black enough in a way. And I was like, wow, that is crazy.
That's a good point because there was a part in the movie where he was actually sitting down with probably like the chair of, I would say, the English department at the university,
Yeah.
with some of his colleagues, and he was saying, well, I don't see race in a sense, like I
Yeah.
don't see color, and I'm kind of like, okay, like this is where we're going. Like it seems like he's kind of detached, from reality. I don't know if he's doing that on purpose or if it's just because of circumstance. Because like, hey, he sees us, like he sees black people as more than just the tropes and all of that, which is good. But at the same time, like you can't neglect what's in front of your face, like the reality.
Yeah, you can't neglect reality, understanding that there is racism, that there is
Yeah.
a line so to speak, even as proverbial or as invisible, whatever line you want to call it. There is
Yeah.
a line, there is a separation, distinct separation, and we're fighting against that to make it disappear, right?
Yeah.
I didn't like the line where he said, "I don't see race." Personally, I'm like, bro, you're a black man in America. How don't you see race? But as you start to dive into his character, you find out that his dad was an OGBYN, very successful doctor in this in the area.
Yeah.
You can tell he grew up with money. Both his siblings are doctors. He has his doctorate in literature, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, they have a maid they had for almost 40 years, you know? So
Yeah.
like there's certain pieces of his life. They even had a vacation home. So there's certain pieces of his life where you realize, okay, this guy grew up really high middle class.
Yeah.
So I guess, so to speak, in his world view, he didn't see race. I find it interesting that he didn't see race in Boston, though.
Yeah. New England.
I mean, if you hear some basketball players like Bill Russell talk about Boston, especially back in the day, his
Yeah.
experience in Boston with racism being their like best basketball player at the time,
Yeah.
I find it interesting that he didn't find racism in Boston.
Yeah.
But hey, again, it's a book. That's the
Yeah.
book. It's a movie. I don't know.
Yeah. So, when he meets with the writer and he comes up with, at first he was going to call it my pathology, and then he um, changed it to, slang or,
No, he changed it to fuck. Let's be real here. He
well, no,
changed the name of the book to fuck, and he was like literally rubbing it in their noses and saying, "We're gonna call this movie fuck. I mean, this book fuck." And everybody's like,
yeah,
okay, I don't know." And he's like, "I'm walking," and he's like, and they said, "This sounds like a great name. It's edgy. I
yeah,
think it's gonna go well," and it became a bestseller.
yeah. It, which brings me to the next point. A question that I had, brought up, and I'm sure a lot of other people have asked this question. Um, do you believe that, you know, white people, Caucasian people, and other, non-black people in America and in the world, are they entertained by, black trauma or like the black struggle, which it seems like Monk was against in the film because he probably saw that and was like, okay, like let's try to move away from that. But do you agree that other races consume like the black struggle and black trauma as entertainment?
That is a great question, and I would say yes and no.
Okay.
And the reason why I say yes and no because there is a like there's not a lot of movies that don't like you think about black exploitation films, right?
Hmm.
A lot of those films did, you know, talk about trauma and, like sold on the black experiences they would call it, right?
Yeah.
But then you had great movies that come out during that film, that era where it was just like black people being black people and just doing what they can. And it didn't have trauma. It didn't have the black experience all the way through the film. And you didn't see all these bad negative things. Like Car Wash. I love the Car Wash. One of my favorite movies in the 70s. It didn't really make it downtrodden. It made it like a real life human movie, right? If you ever seen
Yeah.
Car Wash, check it out. If you haven't,
Yeah.
please do. Um, and then you have movies that really drive home like the black experience and like the hood and like it's bad and everybody gets shot, right? When it
Yeah.
was coming to mind, I love the movie, come to mind, but Boys in the Hood, like man, that movie is. I mean, does it again? Black director, black
Yeah.
writer. I mean, is it like pushing forward the black experience
Yeah.
badly? I don't know, man. It's just so hard to answer that question because I feel like they do, and I
Yeah.
feel like they don't at the same time. But then again, a lot of movies that would put our people in a different light, you know,
Mhm.
those movies aren't getting enough shine. Those movies aren't even being seen or spoken of when it comes to the Oscars and things of that nature or the
Yeah.
Golden Globes. Those movies aren't even being talked about, you know? What's your thought?
Well, I agree with you. Yes and no. Actually, I was going to say in this scene or this photo right here, I forgot about Issa Rae, one of my favorite actors. But yeah, she's playing a character named Centara Golden, and she's one of those people that you know I guess has become famous off of you know creating stories around black trauma and black tropes. And Monk is at this conference, which she's like the headliner, like she's got the biggest room I think at the convention center, and she's reading from this book, and it's all the things that he hates or disagrees with, and then he's like, okay, maybe this is what I need to do. Um, but yeah, I do kind of feel like not just other races, but even like some of our own people, we consume it because that's all we've been taught. Depending on where you grew up, where you went to school, what neighborhood you lived in, um, that's what we see, that's what we know. But also, we don't all have the same upbringing. Some of us, you know, didn't experience some of those things.
True. Clearly, Monk didn't, because Monk couldn't even act like he was hood.
Yeah,
He was trying to like get into it, and like he was projecting what he saw. Oh, find it funny that he was watching Get Rich or Die Trying with 50 Cent. So that was hilarious. And in the movie, so
yeah,
you can just tell he's trying to project
yeah,
that image.
yeah. He was in his room writing. I would assume at the vacation house, and it was playing like a bunch of black. It was like black like celebration month or something like that.
Yeah, man, it was hilarious. It had all the tropes, man. It had every black movie you could think of,
Yeah,
and we was gonna
Ricky
be
got
all
shot
right.
in Boys in the Hood. They had that scene in there.
It's like trauma, like
Yeah,
how many times you got to see Ricky get shot, bro? I mean,
yeah,
I don't want to see Ricky. I don't want to see that no more, man. I'm tired of seeing movies like that.
yeah,
You know, I mean, there's and like I don't know, man. I just feel like we can do better in cinema. I think there's a
yeah,
lot of better. I think there's more stories to be told. Like
yeah,
that's what I loved about the Black Panther. Right when the movie came out through Marvel, it gave us a different story. The reason why I love this movie in the background, you see on my wall, the
mhm,
Meteor Man. It gave me a different story, a black superhero.
yeah,
So, I but I do love that this movie brought some of those things to light. Right.
yeah,
Question at the before we get to the real life rate, real guys rate. At the end where they're sitting and they're discussing, books, right? And they're trying to give the award to what book they like, and of course, all the panel they have a panel, guys,
yeah,
of judges who are writers, and two out of the three other people of the panel are white, and I mean two are black and three are white, and everyone wants to put fuck on there as the number one book of the year, right? Out of 10 books, and both Issa Rae's character and Jeffrey Wright's character is like, no, absolutely not, for various reasons. So, we have a conversation. My question is: do you think that Issa Rae's character was, how to put it, was Issa Rae's character? Do you think Issa Rae's character was benefiting from uh, using those tropes in a negative way? Because like Monk felt like she was doing the same thing he was doing, where Issa Rae was characters like, no, I'm not actually. I'm actually telling true stories, and I actually did my research on this, and these are stories that I compiled into a book, and I presented it. His book felt soulless because again, it was meant to be satire.
yeah.
Do you think Issa Rae was wrong, or do you think Monk was wrong, or were they both wrong?
That's a good question. Um, wow, I don't, I don't think she was wrong. Um, I think her intentions were pure for what she did, um, but maybe she didn't know where else to go. Again, maybe she did what Monk did. Like maybe she wrote some other books that didn't do well, and this is all that she knew, and she had to tell like stories that kind of resonated with like her upbringing or things that she was familiar with. So I don't think she was wrong about it. It's funny. I think Monk, like towards the end of the movie. I think he kind of came to the realization like, hey, this is what I got to do. Like, this is how it is, unfortunately. Especially when you're starting out, and you're black in Hollywood. This is the type of stuff you have to do. Not always, but
To get the stories told, to get the voices heard. So
yeah,
I don't think Issa Rae's character was wrong. I do
yeah,
feel like Monk was wrong for how he went about it. I
yeah,
think it was funny that he did satire. It was like a revenge tour for him writing his book.
yeah,
But I do feel like he should have took Issa Rae's approach and did some research and actually compiled a real story that told our story, right? And
yeah,
not making a satire of it and prosper off it. But then again, he chose to make money off it because his mom was sick. He had to get some money in. He made the right decision.
yeah.
So
I
that being said, what's up, bro?
no, my bad. I did want to point out a few more things. You brought up Robert Townsend, and the Keenan Ivory Wayans of Hollywood. The director, Cord Jefferson, he actually, this is his directorial debut. Just wanted to point that out. Um, he also like shouted out. I follow him on Instagram, but he shouted out Robert Townsend, and he said that without Hollywood Shuffle, which is another great movie that
Yep.
Robert Townsend directed, he was like, without Hollywood Shuffle, there would be no American Fiction. Um, and we all know that movie kind of poked at like black tropes and
Yes,
different
it
things in
did.
Hollywood. Um, but yeah, that's an important thing. I felt was good to point out. Also, I feel like this was kind of his story too, because he is a black director. Um, he actually kind of looks like Jeffrey Wright, which is kind of funny, and even dressed like he did in the movie. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you'll look it up. But maybe he was kind of telling a story that he experienced as well, like with this being his first, film. Maybe he had to do some other stuff, and he did some great stuff. He wrote on Secession. Um, he wrote, or he was a consultant for The Watchmen, which is another
Okay.
great series.
Great
Um,
series. Great series.
yeah, some other great works. So yeah, I kind of felt like the story resonated with him, and he kind of put himself into the character of Mike. But yeah,
Okay. All right. But
and my bad. Jeffrey Wright, another scene when he was writing in his room, he had a what do you call it? What's this word? Lacrosse stick on his wall.
okay.
Jeffrey Wright actually played lacrosse when he was in college.
I didn't know that. Didn't
Yeah.
know that.
So
Nice
anyway,
little tidbit. Oh, also shout out to Keith David in the film, man. That was a nice little surprise effort, man. Seeing Keith David in the movie,
yeah.
uh, great scene. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, they and them, it's time for Kev's and Eric's favorite part of the show. It is time for the real guys rate. Let's see what's cracking on this right now. Um, all right, E. Okay, first, my bad, y'all. Rewind. We got to go back to credits ratings first. My bad. I forgot about that. I was so excited. All right, IMDb rating gave it a 7.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 93%.
Mhm.
Fandango gave it a 97%. That's you guys. That's us as fans. And IGN, for some odd reason, did not take the time to do a review. So it's in NR. I don't know what that stands for. Not rated. I have no clue. I don't know why they didn't see the movie. Great movie. Anyway, I'm going to get
Probably.
off my soapbox. Now it's time for the real guys rate, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Girls stand up. E, you're up next.
All right. So for me, I gave it a 8.5 out of 10. It wasn't hard to follow. The only thing that made me give it that was the fact that Tracy Ellis Ross got, you know, Chris Brown, as you said in the first act. Um,
You gotta say that, man. Every time somebody gets killed in the first scene, I remember, man. I remember the feeling of seeing Stomp the Yard in theaters. Right, my brother Kyle, we liked Chris Brown because he could dance, he could sing, and we're like, yo, we want to see this movie. Chris Brown's in it. We
mm,
really know who was Columbus Short. I think I don't know who was the guy.
yeah,
And we're like, let's go see Stomp the Yard, man. Had no clue what it's going to be. We thought it'd be straight dancing.
yeah,
First scene, my man, Chris Brown kills it. Boom, 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 pop locking. Got everybody going. Comes out, gets shot and killed. Again,
yeah,
trauma. Okay, go
yeah.
ahead.
That was what made it a 8.5 out of 10. Because again, like you saw the trailer, you thought she was in the whole movie, but they played a trick on you. So anyway, cast, I give it a 9 out of 10. Again, has some phenomenal actors. the great Jeffrey Wright, of course, Erica Alexander, Sterling K. Brown, Tracy Ellis Ross,
David
Leslie
King.
Uggams, who played Blind Owl in Deadpool, if you know anything about the MCU. So yeah, great cast. Storyline, well, I'm sorry, cinematography was a 9 out of 10. Um, great angles, great color. Storyline, I give it a 9 out of 10. Again, I know like this is something that has been talked about before, but I like what the director did, especially with this being his directorial debut. I felt like he really examined the idea of like black tropes and black trauma and how people just eat it up, Hollywood. So overall, 8.9, rounded up to a 9 out of 10. So yeah.
Solid film. I like that, bro. All right, for me, pacing 8.5 out of 10. Again, I'm on the same standard with E. Tracy Ellis Ross getting Chris Brown. I didn't like it, but it felt, again, human movie, real response,
Yeah.
real feelings. Liked it. Cast 9 out of 10. All around, great cast. Could not complain. Cinematography 9 out of 10. Storyline for me was a 9 out of 10. Overall 8.9 out of 10. This is the first. I think it was one of the few times me and E advertised and
Yeah.
agree on the movie all the way through. Um, so yeah, man. Super, 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 super dope film. Um, really liked it. So E, I got a question for you, bro.
Yeah.
Would you recommend this film?
Most definitely.
I
Most
would
definitely.
too. I would too. If you have not seen this movie, please go see it. I know when it first came out, it was limited theaters, and a lot of people didn't get a chance to see the movie. But now it's in every theater across the country, I believe. If you can't get there, drive. I think he had to drive an hour to get to see the movie.
Yeah.
Definitely well worth it. So please, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, they and them, just go see this movie. I would not be surprised if we won an Oscar. And this it should be nominated for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, also, it was on somebody's top 10.
President Obama, the man himself.
Put this on his top 10. So if that doesn't get you to go see the movie, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, man, solid movie. Me and E recommend it. Go see it. Don't waste no time. Don't stream it. Go to theaters. Get your popcorn. Get your nachos. Do what you do. And as always, we're the real guys. So please like, follow, subscribe. You can follow us on YouTube. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram. And we also have a Spotify. So please holler at us next time. Again, I'm Kev. That's E. We're the real guys, and this is Real Life Reviews.
All right, y'all.